Hiya guys, it's Talon here. Last night I had a brainwave and I thought I'd do a little series. Mainly because I have got quite a few DLCs for Train Simulator, and when I've bought these, I've searched for videos, and I haven't actually found any videos on YouTube that actually just go and tell you this is what the DLC is like. I've seen lots where, for example, you've got the Rebuilt Light Pacific. I've seen lots of videos where people will do a test drive in one and show what it's like driving along, but it doesn't actually explain what the DLC is like. So I'm thinking about this sort of try before you buy thing. Now, you know yourselves, there's a huge amount of DLCs for Train Simulator. I haven't got that many, maybe 20 or 30, but enough to actually do a little series about this. And what made me think about this last night is the Rebuilt Light Pacific is an engine that I've done quite a lot of scenarios for. It's one that I really like, but there's a lot of things about this DLC that I really hate. Now, keep in mind this is a £12 DLC. I would assume that's going to be $19, $20, something like that, or whatever it is in local currency. It's not a cheap DLC. And to me, there's a lot about this that really irritates me. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be dividing this up into pros and cons, and showing you exactly what you'll get for your money. Now, to begin with, you know, from the outside, you can see the beautiful shine on it. It's a really nice model. I am having to run this instantly in 32-bit mode. 64-bit, it comes out as a really jittery video, which I'm not particularly happy with. But if we have a look, you know, I mean, it's a really nicely modelled engine. It's great. I'm very happy with the model. However, let's jump to an inside view. There are certain things about this DLC that really irritate me. So, if you're looking at buying this, this is what you can expect. I never drive trains from the inside, so don't particularly know what I'm looking at here, but I can show you just a quick shot of this moving along. Where are we here? So, yeah, you know, if you like Rebuilt Light Pacifics, straight off the bat, it's a very nice looking engine, and it will do what it says on the tin. There we go. Some lovely sounds going on. It's great. So, that's that. Let's get on to the nitty-gritty of this and what you're likely to come across. Now, my first problem with this DLC is the lack of engines. And this is a common theme with quite a few of the packs. It says on the Steam page, it says in their documentation, 10 engines represented, and that is true. You know, here are the 10 all laid out, and we have got Exeter 34001, we have got Bodmin 34016, we have got Exmoor 34022 coming across, we have got Yes Tour 34026, we have got Tor Valley 34027, Boscastle 34039 coming across the back, Braunton 34046, then we got a couple of Battle of Britain, Archibald Sinclair 059, 17 Squadron 062, and buried at the back on its own 34101 Heartland. That might seem like a decent little selection, and to be fair, in some ways it is. However, when you compare this with the identically priced Western Hydraulics pack, that one has got over, and I'll actually do it in one of these guides, that's got over 200 engines, and a lot of them are named. I find it really poor and very lazy that they haven't replicated probably the whole lot, especially for that price. When you consider that they've gone to all this trouble to actually model the engine, it's a great model, it cannot have been that hard to just do one of these for each of the engines in the class. If you're designing a scenario, this isn't a great selection. This is really not a great selection. And I have to admit, I am really disappointed that only 10 are represented, especially when you consider how many that there were actually rebuilt. Now we come on to the bad things about the engines themselves. Aside from the sort of lack of names given, there are two major things missing from this DLC, that are included in most others. The first is there's only one version. There's only the clean version. And I have to admit, these are just a little bit too shiny for my liking. These have just come out of the spray shop, every single one of them. It would be nice to see a bit of grime on there, especially if you want one of these to be working a freight run. You just wouldn't have one this shiny. And it's a common theme with this entire DLC, where it just seems that they've designed the engine, and it's when it comes down to the actual nitty-gritty of it, they just have not bothered. Now, aside from that, which is a minor gripe, one of my biggest problems with this DLC, and bearing in mind that I use the Castle DLC quite a lot, is the complete lack of headboards. Now, going back to the Western Hydraulics, that one, you've got headboards, we'll come on to that in the Western Hydraulics one. However, these engines are absolutely prime material for doing a sort of reproduction of the Pines Express, you know, and especially the Night Train. There's certain ones, you can just see, you know, Oriana, one of the boat ships, you know, on the front of this. Why have they not bothered? And this is just a really common theme for this entire pack, is that they've got a great looking engine. You know, I don't dispute it's a really nice looking engine, but there just seems to be this absolute lack of names, this lack of headboards, this lack of a weathered version, and it just, I don't know, you know, it's just, to me, this should be a sort of £7 or £8 pack, and I actually got this on offer. I didn't pay the full £12. For £12, I'd be expecting a lot more than this in a DLC. Now, the last thing I'm going to say about the engines themselves, which I'm going to go slightly in depth on, is that there's only two things that you can alter with no headboards. There's only two things you can alter on these engines. One of them, which I'll show you in a minute in the scenario editor, is the shed plate, and the other one is the lights. Now, the shed plate I find a little bit curious, because if I show you a few of them, this is 70B, we'll come across, 70B, we'll come across, 70B. The one that they give it as a generic. Now, if you're not by any means an expert on creating scenarios, 70B just seems like a really odd one to use, because 70B as a shed code is Feltham in West London, which they might have had some base there, but I'm just surprised that they didn't use something more along the lines of 71A, which is Eastleigh. Now that can be changed, it can be changed, but it just strikes me as a bit of a weird thing when you consider that, you know, most of these engines were based elsewhere. The lights, yeah, we'll come on to that in a minute. Now, the last thing I'll cover really quickly, just from an external point of view, is it comes with 4 carriages, all Mornsel. It comes with a Mornsel third, which is very nice, Mornsel third brake, Mornsel composite, and lastly here Mornsel brake, which, yeah, okay, you can do some really nice combinations with that. You know, this is a pretty nice looking engine. So, yeah, from an external point of view, I think that's pretty much it covered. Now, in terms of what you can do in the scenario editor, we'll come across here. We can stick one down, same as every other one. This will be, if I show you very quickly, under DT, this one here. So we got all those selected. So we can stick a Light Pacific down. It will give us a random one. There's Exmort. Of course, if we just put another one down randomly, it should give us one of the other ones. So there's Bodmin. Where are we here? There's Braunton. We can do it another way, which is double click if we decide we want Exeter, for example. We'll just change that number there to 001. It'll still say Exmoor until we load it up, and it's fine. You know, it's fine. Now, I was saying about Eastleigh Shed, 71A. Now, that's very, very simple to change with the shed plate there, which come onto here. You see it's got 70B. All we do need to do to change that is 70A. Bump. Will that change now? Yes, it will. See, 71A. So that's a very, very nice little system. What isn't such a nice system is the headcode discs. I can't change that in the scenario editor. I should, like the Castle one and various others, be able to actually start the scenario off with this showing certain headcode discs. You cannot do that in this. The way that you do this is Control Shift and a number 1 to 6. I'll pick 5 as a random one. There we go. Right, it comes up. Now if you press H, in theory, no, it won't do it with that one. That's typical. Let's go with 2. Anyway, so that's how you do it, right? It's Control Shift 2. Sometimes if you get a certain one, it'll turn it into a little light instead. This to me is sloppy for a couple of reasons. Is number one, I should be able to actually sort this at the start of the scenario. Secondly, there's nothing in the literature saying what the head code discs mean in certain positions. Now, I mean, I know for a fact, just for a start, you know, if it's one up the top, that's an express, that's fine, you know, but it's just another really sloppy thing about this whole DLC. You know, I should be able to just get this to actually do it before I in the scenario editor, before I get somebody else to drive the scenario I've designed. Now, the last thing in terms of the editor, and I've actually enabled the castle pack to show you this. This is another annoyance of mine, is if you've got a castle, right, you'll see here, hovering over it, plus 12 Mark 1 coaches, plus 10 Mark 1 coaches, there'll be a light engine, plus 7 Mark 1 coaches. We'll choose the shortest one, 7. Right, this is with the castle, so we'll just stick him down there, and I'll spin him around. With the rebuilt Light Pacifics, which are a powerful engine, the options it gives you for consists is terrible. So we've got light, that's fine. It gives you one with 2 Mornsel, which you would never see one of these with just 2 carriages on the back. Next up from that, we've got 3 Mornsel. It's getting slightly better, but it's still a very short train. Then we've got, surprise, surprise, 4 Mornsel, which, for a little branch line, yeah, maybe okay. The biggest one it gives you as a pre-built is 6. Now, that is just about passable. That is just about okay. I would be more inclined to expect to see this with 4 as the minimum, 6 as the intermediate, then 8 and possibly even 10 of these on the back of one of these. You know, it's just not impressed. You know, when you compare, and I know the castle is a much more powerful locomotive. When you compare that though, right? If I just choose the, where is it? Somewhere here. If I compare that against the castle with 12 on the back, you can see the difference here. Now the last thing we'll touch on is the included scenarios. I very rarely actually bother playing them. I have played these to an extent. I haven't actually completed them. I have, however, looked at how they're made. So I know exactly what they're designed to do and what's included with them. And I am not overly impressed. I'll show you why. Now, this is for the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway. You'll see them here. They're in Korea. There's 3 of them. All 3 of them have made exactly the same mistake, which is there's no variety of trains at all. The beauty about the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway, which I will be doing a sort of little one of these on at some point, is that there's a huge number of engines it actually comes free with, predominantly the Black 5. Also one of the, let me see if I can find it really quickly, I can't remember what it's called, because it's a little while since I've actually used it. Where are we here? The 7F, that's the one. So it comes with the 7F, it also comes with the Black 5. It's brilliant. It's a huge number of different engines. They have not capitalised on that. What they've done is they have taken the Light Pacific and just used the Light Pacific without anything else going past you, with one exception, which is one of the 3 scenarios. There is a 7F that's stationary at the station. But it would be so beautiful to drive along the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway, seeing these Black 5s coming past you, seeing the 7F coming past you. They haven't capitalised. So what's the summary? The summary is, I mean, it's a lovely engine. It's a lovely engine. It's got a lot of application, you know, making double headers, making some great scenarios. I've actually just done it here with some Pullmans behind it, which to me actually suits it a lot better than the Mornsels. But it just needs more to justify that price tag. It needs more. It needs at least 30 of the class replicated. I mean, you look at how basic this is. It would not have been difficult for them to do more. It is absolutely screaming out for headboards. It needs that to justify the £12. Other than that, if it's on sale, if it's £5-6, it's a great little addition. I'm a big Southern fan, Bournemouth's my local station, and this should be one of the highlights of my collection. As it is, it's an okay one. So yeah, hope that helps, guys. If definitely if it's on sale, grab it. Other than that, the choice is yours.